So there I was back in the hot tub when who should walk in but Larry. Larry is in his 70s. He's what I would consider a fervent right-wing conservative. I've had plenty of discussions with him in the past, and today we talked about family. Now, Larry's a good man. He loves his family. He supports his daughter and his son. He supports all of his grandchildren. He was just telling me how he went to visit his granddaughter at college. He went to her college out of state to visit with her. That's dedication. This is an interesting aspect of conservative people. They're often very good to their in-group, which is often just their family, and everybody else is their out-group. And conservatives believe that the family unit is the most basic unit of society. Well, I said hello to Larry, and he said hello, and then he told me about his granddaughter and how he was visiting her. And we got to talking. And the topic of homelessness came up. He had said that he doesn't think that his tax dollars should have to pay for homeless people. He said they were degenerates and drug addicts, and that they didn't deserve to have a home, at least not one provided by him and his tax dollar. He then said, why can't their families take care of them? When I said, but Larry, many homeless people are so addicted to drugs or so mentally ill that their families couldn't possibly help them. They need medical attention. They need intense psychotherapy and doctors to help them overcome either their intellectual issues or their psychological issues or their addiction issues. I said, how's a mother who has no education in, let's say, addiction therapy, supposed to help her addicted son? Or how's a father who works as a salesman? Now, Larry's a salesman, so I said a salesman, supposed to help with the psychological disorders that make his son a homeless person? And he said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, don't you think that it would be a good idea that instead of disowning homeless people as a society, that we all come together to provide the resources that that family needs in order to help their troubled children, their troubled homeless children? And wouldn't you, as a member of society, feel better about not going everywhere throughout the community and seeing homeless people all over the place? Wouldn't you feel better on the bus or on the train or at the stoplight if there weren't homeless people everywhere? Wouldn't you feel safer? Because folks that are homeless are often mentally ill, and mental ill people often have bouts of aggression or outbursts or mania. They can have a psychotic episode. They can black out and just start walking in the street. Don't you think it's safer for them and for everyone else if we all band together to help them, to house them, and to treat them? How is their family supposed to do any of that? And he just said, well, that's what I believe. I believe that their families should have to pay for all this and do all this. They should be the support group. And I said, well, what if they don't have any resources? What if they don't have what it takes to solve this problem? And he just shrugged his shoulders. And that's really one of the hallmarks of conservative thinking. They know for sure they don't want to help, but they don't have any solutions. They know for sure they don't want their money to go to help these people who they've deemed not worthy of help. They're not so willing to call themselves inhumane as they are to dehumanize homeless people and other groups. And then they say, well, we shouldn't help them. It should be their families that take care of them, even though many of their families don't have any of the resources needed to actually solve this problem. They either don't have the money or the education or both. And wouldn't society be better off if maybe we pulled some of our resources together to solve this problem? But see, the modern conservative doesn't view it that way. It's an us versus them mentality. Homeless people to a conservative are a part of the out group. They're the who gives a fuck about them group. They make me feel sick or icky, so I don't care about them. They make conservatives feel uncomfortable, and they dehumanize them in their minds. They call them animals or sick, and they just say, forget about them. Look at them. They're disgusting. My money should go towards me, and damn the rest of the world, straight to hell. And they really do mean that, even if they're not willing to say it out loud. I hear Larry talking at the gym to other people who are conservative, and some of the things that come out of his mouth are so inhumane and disgusting that it makes it hard for me to even talk to him. Now, I have to share space with him. We're in the same gym. We're often in the same hot tub together, hence the hot tub monologue. During this conversation, I made it very clear that he was a bigot. I actually said to him, I said, so you're willing to help your family, and you're willing to put money to places that you think it should go, but you're willing to exclude them. You'll say, I'll spend money for this, but not on them. I'll purposefully exclude those disgusting homeless. Larry didn't really have anything to say. He sort of just, yeah, kinda. I wasn't parroting back the same ideas to him. He wasn't in his tunnel, you know? He wasn't in this space where everybody thinks the same way he does and nobody pushes back. And in response to that, all he can do is just sort of sit there dumbfounded. He doesn't have anything other than bigotry to present as a reason for why he thinks these aren't actually people who deserve all the benefits of all the other people. And essentially, what he's saying is the family unit is the most basic unit of society, and therefore that's the unit that should solve the problem. It should all fall on the shoulders of this homeless person's parents. That is a huge conservative mantra. That's one of their core beliefs. That's pay dirt. That's part of the foundation of modern day conservative, that it's family first. They even have organizations called Focus on the Family, where they talk about exactly what a family is and what it's not, and they immediately start to exclude people from that classification. As part of this exclusivity, they also claim that they should not have to help anybody that's not in their family, and that all the help should come from within the family. Now, of course, if something happens to their family, they want help. That's also a hallmark of conservatism. If you happen to have a homeless person in your family and you're conservative, well, you make an exception for them. But yes to my family and fuck you and your family. That's the conservative mindset. That's one of the foundational aspects. The other foundational aspect is they don't see the rest of society as deserving of government. And ultimately, they don't want the government to do anything except for when they need to get bailed out. Most of these conservatives were fine with the bailouts back in 2009 or 2010 because a lot of their family members worked for these companies. A lot of conservative people work in those industries, even though laissez-faire capitalism, the thing that they say they hang their hat on, would dictate otherwise. If your business is failing, it should fail. Let laissez-faire capitalism, the invisible hand, come in and correct the economy. Now, Larry obviously isn't comfortable being painted as a bigot. So he did what a lot of conservatives do at the end of a conversation where they've been made a fool of. He said, well, I really appreciated this conversation. I really like hearing other people's perspective and their opinions on these matters, these social issues. Never mind that I demonstrated he's a bigot. Never mind that I demonstrated that what he's proposing makes no sense. Never mind that I demonstrated that he doesn't actually have any solutions to homelessness. It's all just our opinions. And as a gracious conservative, he was happy to engage with me in the marketplace of ideas, where his idea is just as sound as mine, even though we just demonstrated that it's not. Now, don't get me wrong, I still talk to Larry. I'm in Larry's in-group. I'm not African American or a woman or a Jew or anybody that he hates. I'm a white man. Now, I'm an atheist and he hates that, but he accepts atheism for some weird reason, at least enough to say hello and to smile. Although the more we talk, the less and less he engages with me. He knows that everything he says is wrong and that I can demonstrate that to him. But just like a good conservative, he doesn't care. He doesn't care that what he thinks is wrong. What he cares is that he feels that it's right, that he has a right to his opinion, and that opinion can and should be legislated. So his bigotry can and should be legislated. He has a right to be a bigot, and he wants the government to uphold that right. Well, that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for listening to Hot Tub Monologue.